Welcome to the Railway Series Book Club, the podcast where we dissect the Railway series. I'm Jamie.
I'm Marina.
I'm Liv.
And we hope you enjoy the show. Hello, and welcome to the Railway Series Book Club, the podcast where it's too damn hot outside and we're gonna melt.
Oh! My brain feels like deep fried right now, and not in the meme sense.
Hell yeah, dank memes.
I miss deep fried memes. Every meme was better when you just put like a shit ton of distortion on it.
But that's not the funny anymore. Now the funny is adding a bunch of unnecessary ratio shit, because that's better than having an actual conversation about anything. I am Jamie, I am your hostess with the mostest. We are segueing right out of that minefield.
Yeah, okay. Good point. I'm Marina, your local TV series bitch. Pronouns she, her.
I'm Liv. I'm British. She, her. Pip pip cheerio, tally ho.
Today we are going to be finishing up our coverage on the 5th book in the Railway series, Troublesome Engines. This book's been a weird one. The story is relatively simple. I don't feel like I'll have a lot to say on it, at least. This is Percy runs away.
Oh no, where's he going?
We'll have to read the story to find out.
Oh fuck.
Canada.
Yeah. I mustn't say any more, or it'll spoil the next story.
We're at Percy's first starring role. So I don't really know if the last one counts.
Well, Percy was more just like, he was an introduction, he was kind of just like one of the players in the last story. This one is squarely focused on him.
Yeah.
Yeah, the last...
And I think that's pretty cool.
The last one, if anything, the Fat Controller was kind of the main character. 'Cause he was the one kind of connecting everything, I guess?
I guess?
And you don't get many Fat Controller starring roles, really.
Yeah.
Which is why...
I guess if anything, the last story can really be counted as an ensemble cast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was basically everyone at play.
Yep.
That's why it's good.
No Birdie, though. Fuck Birdie.
And Terrence.
I don't think there's really anything else to, like, say about the story before we go into it, so... Why don't we go into it?
There's not really any kind of in-depth background to this one. It's just Percy being a dum-dum.
Yeah.
Right.
You love to see it.
Alright, so we get to start.
You do love to see it.
Henry, Gordon, and James were shut up for several days. At last, the Fat Controller opened the shed. "I hope you are sorry," he said sternly, "and understand you're not so important after all. Thomas, Edward, and Percy have worked the line very nicely. They need a change, and I will let you out if you promise to be good." "Yes, sir," said the 3 engines. "We will." "That's right, but please remember that this no shunting nonsense must stop." I don't know if I like the Fat Controller's wording here that much.
Yeah, I don't either. Like, we talked about it a bit the last episode, but, like, you know, because there was also a lot of it in the last episode, but, like, there are many ways the Fat Controller could word his, like, you know, reasonings and reprimands, but for some reason the one he always goes with is, "This is my railway and you do what I say, young man."
Yeah.
Which is like, that's, no. There were so many routes you could have gone down, and yet you picked the wrong one. Like, you know, it could just be like, oh, no engine is too important for small jobs. I'm pretty sure there's, like, some version that says that.
Yeah, or...
You know.
Like, just that you're not more important than any of the other engines, because they were, like, kind of implying they are compared to, like, Thomas and even, like, Edward.
Yeah, you know,
and
don't be mean to the people who are going out of their way to help you.
Yeah. Honestly, it's like, I know we're, like, last episode especially, and, like, I especially was, like, talking about the ways this kind of subverts the usual expectations of, like, you think this is, like, story's kind of a really bad representation. I mean, it's not a good representation of worker strikes at all, but it's, like, malicious, and it's, like, I didn't get that much from the last two, but it's like I feel like this line says more, like does more of that than a lot of the stuff in the last two, because it's just like, yeah, you fucking union workers aren't as important as you think you are. It's like, Jesus fucking Christ, Audrey. It's probably not what he meant, but Jesus.
Yeah. Not a big fan of this warden.
Yeah.
You know.
Anyway, I didn't know the shed had doors.
Gordon and James are drawn neat here, and I like that.
Yeah.
I think they look a bit wonky.
Got Trackmaster 2 proportions. They're both larg.
Larg.
Fucking someone post an image of Gordon on r/like heckin' chonkers or whatever it's called.
I'm not a fan of the way James looks bigger than Gordon. It's very weird to me.
Like
I do really like the way in which the fact
director the CGI models.
And for like I was saying, it's for the Trackmaster 2 where James is just fat.
I do like how the Fat Controller is standing, though.
Yeah.
Like, he's got that kind of, like, you know... God, what's the fucking word? Like, that kind of Chad stance. You know, that pose you make when you are telling engines that you are their supreme commander and cannot do any deviations from your will. However the fuck you'd word that sentence. So Gordon's missing his, like, little steam pipe. Hashtag goof.
That's a goof. Is that guy still around?
What? The guy who made all the goof videos?
Yeah.
I think maybe. I don't know. I don't really know anything about the guy.
Me neither.
I like how in the Morris narration of the story, Gordon is the last one who agrees to come out.
Yeah,
like, you know,
I like
this
that
isn't
too.
This isn't something specified by the book, but in the Morris narration, you can clearly hear his voices for the characters.
Yeah.
And Gordon is the last one to agree.
Yeah, and he's very
he probably
reluctant
feels the most
sounding,
defeated
too.
and bitter out of all of them because it was his idea.
Yeah.
I didn't actually get time to listen to the story, so I actually didn't know that.
Yeah, it's a really good touch, because I think
it's interesting to see that Morris seemed to really enjoy and also understand the characters.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like a touch like even the TV series didn't do, and like it adds a lot more to the story, because it's like I think Henry is the first one to go like, "Oh yes, sir," and like Morris's like dying voice,
man
and
voice.
then like James is like, yes, sir," and then Gordon's like, "Fine, but I don't have to like it. It's not like I like you, Parker."
God.
Mari,
but yeah,
Mari,
little
you're being
touches
kicked
like
off of the
those.
podcast right now.
Okay, bye.
Little touches like those are like, they're very fun.
Yeah.
Add a lot to the story.
I do have to say, it's part of why I kinda... Like, Season 1 is good, obviously, but it kinda, like, disappoints me how much it sticks to the stories. Because it's like little touches like that can go a long way.
Yeah,
and, like,
definitely.
Even Morris added, like, stuff like that.
Yeah, that's kind of something I wanted to, like, touch on whenever we get to our, like, you know, our first, like, you know, kind of, like, look-back episode. I feel like the episodes covered in Season 1, and, like, the first, like, 6 or so books, would benefit both the most and the least from being readapted. Because, like, you know, there's not much you can do to readapt them in a way that's closer to the text, because they're already basically the same as the text. But, like, compared to the, like, later Railway series, there isn't an awful lot to chew on compared to those. So, like, readapting them to bring them up to snuff with that stuff, I think, would be really cool. So, like, you know, expanding on stuff and, like, you know, making, like, more coherent choices, doing something different with Henry just because, just ignoring the whole, like, the morality of putting an engine in a tunnel forever. It's just not realistic.
Yeah.
And I feel like if Audrey was coming up from this universe from the ground up, without having to, like, include those bedtime stories he made up for his kids, he would not have included that.
Yeah. Yeah, especially because Henry was meant to be, like, a completely one-off story on, like, a railway that, like, didn't matter.
Yeah.
I was gonna save this until kinda later, but I guess now's as good as time as I need to mention it. Like, back when the idea of, like, an Adventure Begins 2 was the thing that came up a lot, like, the main thing was always, like, doing James's book, and it's like, I certainly think that would be interesting, but, like, especially to make that, like, an actually good arc, but, like, or an arc, period, but, like, I honestly think this one would be the best for kind of, like, a sequel feature, I guess, because it's like...
Yeah, definitely. Because, like, you get to introduce Percy, who's important to the lore, and then you also get to, like, kind of, like, retread this, like, area which has, like, weird messaging, depending on the way you look at it, and then, like, basically just iron out what it's supposed to be saying.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it'd give them a chance to, like, kind of, like, fix and, like, make more coherent the messaging, and, like, it's already a very... Like, it's probably the most connected book we've had. Like, Thomas's book was, like, an arc all the way through, and James's was trying to do Thomas again, but didn't really.
But those stories were also kind of, like, they all tied into each other, but they were also very separate stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas this is directly a plot that, like, builds upon itself.
Yeah. But yeah, that's one thing I've always kind of thought and, like, thought would be interesting, and yeah, this definitely feels like the most, like, interconnected book we've had so far, because, like, even something like Henry and the Elephant, which is, like, definitely the most standalone story here, which, like, is why I think it was a fine choice for the TV series to make it separate, like, still sets up the initial...
I still don't really like that.
Yeah, that's fair. Honestly, it's like, for me, this is going back, but, like, it's this kind of double thing where it's, like, on one hand, like, it removes Henry's motivation for joining, but on the other hand, it was, like, a really...
It was already a pretty flimsy motivation.
Yeah, which it's, like, I guess is the point, but it's, like, it doesn't feel needed, I guess. It's just another, like, silly thing. Like, it's like if they did, like, an Adventure Begins 2 type adaptation, I think it would be a perfectly good thing to include, but, like, when they were limited with what they had in Season 1, I definitely think, like, of the episodes they cut, it was probably the best choice for one they made.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I consistently forget that, like, Leaves and, like, the Trouble with Mud and shit was, like, meant to be part of an arc, and I also consistently forget that episode even happened.
Yeah, I never realized Trouble with Mud was supposed to be part of an arc until I read the book. But Trouble with Mud was also kind of a dumb episode, so I mean...
Yeah. Honestly, for me, it's, like, it's probably partially because I read the book first with that one, but it's like, that one feels more integral to Gordon's arc, because it's literally the
totally does.
point in that book.
Yeah.
Yeah, they only did they only did Down the Mine and
Off the Rails.
Yeah. Which...
They didn't even adapt the ending. They just did those two. Honestly, unpopular opinion, but I think they either should have adapted they should have adapted Paint Pots and Queens for the final episode of Season 1 instead of Christmas Party, or they should have just saved the whole Gordon book for the next season.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think ultimately what should have happened was they skip out on one book completely, but they also fully adapt all the books they do.
Yeah. Like, they combine enough episodes where, like, they had, like, the 2 episodes missing, I guess, but, like, like if they cut the Like, they just cut the 2 episodes at the end of the season with Gordon. And then, honestly, I feel like maybe... I guess Toby's book does make sense to be adapted, because Toby's, like, one of the big 7, and then, also because they... there's 25 Railway series stories without, like, combining episodes, but because they did combine a bunch of episodes, it makes sense for them to include, like, Toby's book stories to, like, kind of fill out the rest of that.
I feel like just going, because I think it's the only other one from these first 6 books not adapted here, is it? Yeah, they probably could have done, like, a Scarf for Percy in season 1.
Yeah, Scarf for
and
Percy,
then Henry and the Elephant.
Yeah,
and that would replace the...
See, I'm actually of the opinion that a Scarf for Percy actually fits really well as its own story.
It does, honestly.
Forget it even is a Railway series
here's the thing.
Yeah,
I'm not
Scarf
saying
for Percy is literally page filler.
I'm honestly glad we got it where we did, especially because it, like, it was expanded. If it was, like, the TV series... If it was season 1 TV series, they probably wouldn't have, like, expanded it at all, and it wouldn't have made its own story. And
I don't really remember. Is the really fun scene at the beginning of Thomas and Percy complaining about the firelighter actually in the book?
No, it just starts out with Henry complaining to Percy about wanting a scarf.
Honestly, the
part where it's just like... Sorry, Mary.
I was gonna say, the only reason I suggested it is because it's the only other story I can think of that could fit into a theoretical season 1 without, like, Off the Rails and Down the Mine. And honestly, I think Down the Mine was probably...
I think Down the Mine was only included because they used that for the
definitely.
Which was one, I guess, that made sense for a pilot, because it really only required, like, 3 sets. Like, the station, the mine...
3 sets, 2 engines, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a very simple
3 sets,
episode.
2 engines, and they barely move anyway.
Yeah.
But, like, I don't see why they couldn't have just, like, done the pilot and then, like... I mean, I guess they didn't use it at all, and they wanted to, like, do a good version of it because they'd made the set anyway, but, like...
They did use footage from it.
I feel like it would have been fine in Season 2.
They did reuse footage from it, and I wouldn't be surprised if the sets were reused.
Yeah. I have heard some, like, rumors that, like, the pilot isn't actually that far off from the original, and that they, like, basically made all the model... They basically, like, they basically finished working on the final models as they went along in the pilot.
Yeah.
So, like, yeah... I don't know.
Yeah, because I know the ones they used in the pilot were, like, really quick, like, patch fixes. I wouldn't be surprised if that shot in the final episode of the pilot model, Thomas, is, like, one of the only times it was actually working well. Because even in the final episode, like, they barely move. I don't know if Gordon does at all.
Gordon moves in... I think he moves a little bit when he's coming up to pull Thomas out, and then they go away together in the final shot, and I think he moves in the first shot.
He moves. There's also that scene of him, like, going through the countryside to go help Thomas.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, which I could, I can definitely see all of that being later, so it was probably the pilot just didn't have them move, and then they kind of just reshot the scenes with, like, good models that actually worked.
Yeah.
Sorry?
This is going back a bit. I just want to say quickly, Michelangelos is very good in A Scarf for Percy, and it was one of my favorite episodes as a kid because I really liked his narration.
Oh yeah, no, if getting the season 1 we did, like, led to us getting the season 3 Scarf for Percy, that's a trade I'm willing to make, honestly.
Yeah, well, I mean, thinking about it, like, we'd only have to remove 2 episodes from season 1 in order to get rid of the Gordon stuff. So, we could add Henry and the Elephant back in there, and then, God, it really is just that and the Scarf for Percy that were, like, cut up.
Well,
I guess they could have expanded on, like...
You probably just, like, split apart to, like, one of the episodes that combines 2 stories.
That's the thing,
yeah,
I don't think any of them had enough.
Could stand to be split apart, just because unlike the other combined episodes, they don't really play well together.
Yeah. I honestly, to judge on that, I'll have to wait till we like get there, because I can definitely see it being a case where it was like neither one had enough material in the book itself for them to make it like 4-minute episodes, and then
Yeah, I feel like Gordon's Whistle is already like a story that's a pretty cool concept that like even in the book itself isn't really explored to the fullest. But,
yeah,
you know,
but we have to remember
just
this
me.
was season 1. Like any
It was season
any
1.
changes
Yeah.
are like very, very negligible, if like any exist at all.
No, they made Nat put the big station. That was a big change, and it's also a stupid
I mean,
one.
in terms of like adapting the story's like content to screen, because every episode we've looked at so far is like, with the exception of some minor stuff like shots of the characters like as reactions when there weren't any, or like the odd line change, which was usually just a US dub thing. Like, there's been barely any changes in any of the stories, like, from their season 1
Yeah.
versions, and that's...
I think that was for two reasons. One of them is definitely because, Wilbert wanted the stories to be in line with how he wrote them. But the other one is probably because they had, like, no budget for season 1.
Yeah, like, frankly, it's easier to just, like, adapt the story with minimal changes.
Yeah.
Frankly, I'm amazed that season 1 looks as good as it does.
Yeah, no, I don't... Like, I'm not, like, bashing it from a, like, budget or, like, a, like, execution perspective or anything. On, I guess tying back to this story, this is another one that, like, it feels like much wasn't really changed in the TV series version, which kind of disappointed me because I thought there was a bit more talking in it than there was. But yeah, we'll get to that later. He told Edward, Thomas, and Percy that they could go and play on the branch line for a few days. They ran off happily and found Annie and Clarabelle at the junction. The two coaches were so pleased to see Thomas again, and he took them for a run at once. Edward and Percy played with trucks. "Stop! Stop! Stop!" screamed the trucks as they were pushed into the proper sidings, but the two engines laughed and went on shunting till the trucks were tidily arranged. Thomas immediately being like, we're like going for a ride now, and seeing Annie and Clarabelle again is cute, and I like it.
God,
Yeah, he does that
this
again
whole
in,
scene's so
he
cute.
does that
I
again
love
in
how they
Percy's
describe it as
predicament.
playing on the branch line.
Yeah.
I was just saying, like, Thomas also does that in Percy's Predicament when he comes home from the works.
Oh yeah. I
Yeah.
forgot that.
That's
Aw.
cool. You know.
I like that it's just a thing that Thomas genuinely really likes Annie and Clarabelle.
Hey.
Yeah.
Because there aren't many people in this series that Thomas actually likes. Like, he likes Toby because he harassed a cop. He likes Bertie because he can race him. He likes Terrence because he helped him. And he just likes Annie and Clarabelle.
I still like to think him and
It-
Percy are friends, but
Yeah.
I'm sure they are. I think it's just Thomas is easily irritable and Percy's easy to be irritated by.
Yeah.
But yeah, Edward and Percy like playing with the trucks and stuff together is cute. I like that they continuously
Yeah,
show
I love it.
Edward's like playful side, especially in these early stories. I never realized how much they did.
This is
Yeah.
the thing, right? You can definitely see this as, like, Edward is showing Percy what he likes to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, like, we don't... Keep in mind, we don't know at this point when this book came out that Percy has been shopped around to multiple workshops and has presumably worked somewhere else. So we don't know if he's actually done shunting before he comes to Sodor.
Yeah, that's...
Like, this could just be Edward teaching him, like, how to shunt and just also how to have
Hey,
fun.
which is how I
Yeah.
always took it, honestly. It's part of why it's like...
Yeah. I just like how cute this is.
See,
I also just love that it's described as playing on the branch line. It's just, like,
Yeah.
they're not actually doing any real work. They're just
Yeah.
fucking around.
I like the idea that, like, you know how there are, like, you, like, go to, like, a railway station, there's, like, a poster that's like, oh, sorry, trains will be delayed on this day due to track maintenance. it's like, sorry, the trains will not be running for the next few days as the engines are playing.
Oh my god, it turns out the All Engines Go writers actually did watch an episode. It was just solely this one. I'm sorry, you can send your hate mail to that.
What is Percy doing in this illustration? Where's he going?
He's staring off into the horizon, hoping eventually the void will stare back at him. I like this illustration, it's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't tell what station this is. It looks kind of like Wellsworth. Which would make sense if they're playing on the branch line. Because I guess this would be Edward Station.
This is the thing. If it's the branch line, this is presumably the junction. Because, like, they don't say Edward has a branch line yet. They just say he has a station.
Yeah. So, like, this is Wellsworth, probably. Like, the footbridge kind of reminds me of Wellsworth in, like, the previous illustrations.
The weird thing is, like, Wellsworth's yard is kind of really inconsistent in the early books.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's Valesbridge. Fuck it, it's Valesbridge.
That's on the Mid-Sodar. It's clearly lower East Ballyhoo. Yeah, I don't know what I just said either, Rainey.
Rainey's done with your shit.
Next, Edward took some empty trucks to the quarry, and Percy was left alone. Percy didn't mind that a bit. He liked watching trains and being cheeky to the engines. Hurry, 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 he would call to them. Gordon, Henry, and James got very cross. After a while, he took some trucks over the main line to another siding. When they were tidy, he ran onto the main line again and waited for the signalman to set the points so that he could cross back to the yard. I like this illustration.
Okay, so the quarry, they are on Tom's branch line then.
Yeah, I would assume so.
That Audrey's family makes cameo.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Audrey.
Yeah, Audrey and his wife. And kids.
Maybe this is the illustration that pissed Audrey off initially about Percy, because it's like, these are practically his TV series proportions, complete with like the round boiler, and he's like, why the fuck did you draw me into this one? Are you trying to offend me, you peasant? Ow. Don't do that when you have a headache, Marina.
My favorite one of like that kind of illustration is the one of in Duck and the Diesel Engine, which is just Audrey pointing at Duck, just like, see, this is what he's meant to look like.
Yeah,
fucking, I don't know what you're talking about. Fucking Duck takes charge. Duck is amazing. He looks so dumb. I love him. He changes length in every illustration, I'm pretty sure.
I think Duck was kind of... I know, like, the breaking point for Audrey was, like, just the Percy book in general, but Duck was by far the worst part of that.
Yeah, I think Duck probably helped seal it.
Yeah.
This is
the combination of Percy and Duck was just too much.
There's, like, nothing to back this, but I like the idea that the reason that Duck being inconsistent annoyed him is because Duck was, like, a personal thing for the kids.
Aww. And I mean,
he's like, they named
he
him.
had an outright... That means he had an outright reference for Dalby.
Yeah, he did.
And Dalby was just like, nope, I'm
thing.
going to do this thing
Okay, this
instead.
is the thing, right? He bought the Duck model as a spare for when Percy broke. He specifically built that Percy for Dalby to reference, and he just ignored it.
This is a random thing, but Dalby illustrations made me think of it. Do you want to know something I've always found interesting?
What's that?
Like, I have the complete collection, and like on the front and back, there's a bunch of different illustrations from different like books. The only ones from any of the other illustrators are one of Gordon from Gordon Goes Foreign, like where he's on the bridge, and then the one of Henry, like backing on a spam can in Super Rescue. All the rest are Dalby Engines. So
Yeah,
you can tell that Audrey
'cause
handpicked these.
You know, it's cause. Yeah.
No.
You know, it's cause there's like, you know, Dalby's art is synonymous with early
Yeah.
Thomas, and most people have only like, most people are really familiar with the original
Yeah.
stories. Or, well, actually, I think most people nowadays are more familiar with, like, the fucking Sharamilla error stuff, but, you know, that's beside
That's the thing,
point.
though. I don't know. Because there's, like, obviously, like, parents are probably more familiar with the CGI stuff in general. Like, parents of little kids or recently little kids. But like, the general image of Tom...
I mean, kids are pretty smart, you know. Kids are pretty smart. They will go onto the internet when they probably shouldn't, and then they'll learn about the whole wide swath of Thomas media.
and...
the old TV series, to the books, to the fan content they should not be watching.
the fan content they could be watching. But, yeah, I get what you mean, and that's kind of, like, my point, I guess, because it's like... There's still people actively like, yo, what the fuck did they do to Thomas when they see CGI Thomas? Which it's like... That was a thing for 12 years? And it's like, it'd be interesting to see what, like, the general public perception of the brand still is.
Yeah, it's very strange. Much to think about. I know we already said this, but I do like this.
Yeah, no, same.
Percy is very rotund.
Yeah. This is what...
Rather rotund, really quite round, but he doesn't see it like that.
This is what the ideal male body looks like. You may not like it, but this is what peak performance looks like.
Exactly, and that's why they chose this design for the TV series. Checkmate, atheists.
Just because, like, we were thinking about, like, we mentioned the internet and fans and stuff. I mentioned this before, but the first time I ever used the internet was looking up who my Ertl Bluebell was.
Uh-huh.
Because I didn't know who she was, and I wanted to know.
Did Google tell you she was the Mad Bomber?
I don't think I actually searched it up. I think my mum searched it, and she just read me Bluebell and Primrose's article on the wiki.
Nice. This is kind of on topic. How often do you think the editors for the wiki have had to change, like, people trying to put Bluebell as the Mad Bomber on their page?
Oh, probably too much. Hey everybody, reminder, don't violate wikis.
Yeah, don't violate wikis. It's not funny. It's just depressing.
Yeah.
The people who upkeep the wikis work very hard.
Yeah.
You should respect that.
It's the equivalent of... I imagine, though, it's the Thomas...
Like, you wouldn't do that at a public library, you know?
Yeah. I do imagine, though, it's kind of the equivalent of, like, people... Like, adding to the Sonic wiki, he can punch people into Minecraft after that trailer.
You are going to Minecraft.
The best thing is the punch he uses in that trailer is actually considered, like, Sonic's best move by far in Smash Ultimate. Because it's, like, one of his, like, 2 good kill options, and it has, like, a really disjointed hitbox to where it hits way farther than you think it would. So his most powerful move is his Minecraft punch. Anyway, shall we go on to the...
Isn't Sonic kind of really bad in Smash?
That's the thing. He was terrible in Ultimate, or he was terrible in Brawl. Top tier, like top 5 at, like top 7 or so at worst in 4, and then in Smash Ultimate, he's considered like solid, like a solid. Like, not like A+, plus tier, and like definitely not like S tier, but like a solid option. But he's made infinitely better in online play because of how fucking shitty Nintendo's internet, like Vista, like online servers are. So it just makes him a lot better because he's the best character for abusing like online input lag and stuff.
Nice.
Come on, step it up.
I miss You're Too Slow.
Same,
so
oh my god.
They need to get Roger to say it at some point.
It's weird because I'm pretty sure he has.
I'm certain he has.
Edward had warned Percy, be careful on the main line. Whistle to tell the signalman you are there. But Percy didn't remember to whistle, and the signalman was so busy and forgot Percy. Bells rang in the signal box. The man answered, saying the line was clear, and set the signal for the next train. Percy waited and waited. The points were still against him. He looked on the main line. Peep, peep, he whistled in horror, for rushing straight towards him was Gordon with the express.
The baby is about to be flattened!
I like that you could just see very tiny Gordon.
Yeah! You know, that's a touch I love.
So good! I don't know if you'll be able to see it in the graphics, but it's so good.
Yeah, he's like
There's
really
just a
far
very
off
tiny
in the
Gordon under the
distance.
footbridge.
Yeah.
Percy looks so small.
Percy also
Yeah, he
looks like his
does.
boiler is very misaligned.
Yeah.
Or, as Andrew would
What
call
perspective does to a motherfucker.
it, as Andrew would call it,
Mo-
perpendicular.
It's also thinner than it normally is, and I think he only has one boiler planned.
I really like how they adapted this scene into the TV series,
Yeah.
where like they have Gordon like really far off in the distance and like coming up. But that's only in hindsight, because when I was a kid, I was really scared of this
Oh
scene
my
and
God!
how it was framed.
Oh my god, okay, so this isn't just fucking me being a pussy, because yeah, I had that in my notes that, like, holy shit, that also, like, scared me when I was a kid. I think it was partially because of
Yeah.
the tense music and Gordon's angry face, which I
Yeah, it's the
actively
tense-
didn't like
The
as a
tense
kid.
music and Gordon just like barreling straight towards the camera.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
Yo.
they were that was definitely the intended effect though. Like they definitely wanted it to be a scary scene from Percy's perspective. So, you know, I applaud them for that, but it did also scare me as a child.
POV, me on my way to buy McDonald's chicken nuggies at 3:25 a.m.
God.
It's just like, this is a very quick thing. Did you guys see, it was like a few days ago, that Hayden just drew what this specific Percy would look like from the front?
No!
Maybe.
It was just like Percy, but all of his proportions were wrong, and his boiler was like way too far to the right.
Nice! Yeah, it is!
Percy, but he is a Shay.
It's not over that one box thing. I think that's a sandbox.
Yeah, it's a sandbox.
It's like it's completely to the right of it. Do you want to know something pathetic?
What's that, Mary?
What?
Last night, it was probably because of how late it was. I like zoned out like 4 times watching this episode and like had to rewatch it. And the last time like I did, I got like for a second like kind of anxious watching this scene. It was like I don't know why, but like
Because Gordon's coming to get
yeah.
God, just imagine you're just sleeping at night. Just like, you know, you're just about to fall asleep and then you just very distantly hear boop, boop.
God.
He's coming for you.
Oh my god, it's fucking childhood means it's like nightmare.
And then like
Whoa. Groaned
and then
Gordon.
like a fucking like Tommy Gordon just comes into your room. It just like, it
Yo!
can't actually stop. It just drives directly into the wall.
Yo, fucking, if a Tony. That fits me saying yo like a fucking idiot. But if a Gordon came into my room now, I'd be fucking really happy with it. Have you seen how expensive those things are on US eBay? The cheapest one I saw was $50 last week.
Yeah. Thomas Resale Market is a tragedy. In other news, water is wet.
Exactly.
Okay, I have a plan.
Does it involve becoming top trains and ruling the world?
When you eventually come to visit me, you can just order, like, a ton of Tomy stuff while you're here, and just, like, bring it home with you.
Yeah, honestly, I'm probably gonna order a ton of Thomas shit from there, because there's a lot of stuff that, like, is reasonably priced when you look at it without the US shipping. And the US shipping is sometimes up to 3 times the price of the item from the UK.
Yeah. I like how you can see the signalman's, like, little point levers in the signal box windows.
Oh,
That's
cool.
Poop, 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 poop!
Whistled Gordon. His driver shut off steam and applied the brakes. Percy's driver turned on full steam. Back, 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 he urged. But Percy's wheels wouldn't turn quickly. Gordon was coming so fast that it seemed he couldn't stop. With shut eyes, Percy waited for the crash. His driver and fireman jumped out. Oh! Groaned Gordon. Get out of my way! Percy opened his eyes. Gordon had stopped with Percy's buffers a few inches from his own.
This is a really, like, in kind of one of the earliest really intense scenes.
Yeah, like I said, this gave me, like, mild
Yeah, it's
anxiety
really
last
cool.
night.
You know, I really... Yeah, this is something that, like, really bothers me about the TV series, though. Like, this is the one thing they really majorly changed, and it bothers me. Is that, like, in the Railway series version, the driver and fireman, like, pull Percy into full reverse. They're like, come on, go, 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 go! But Percy just doesn't get going yet, because it takes a long time for a steam engine to start moving. And of course Percy is nervous during all this. So, like, you know, by the time Gordon stopped, you know, his driver and fireman have already bailed from the cab in order to not get smashed by the engine. And then, you know, now Percy is crewless and going backwards. But in the TV series version, his crew just bail at the first sign of danger.
The weird
Typical
thing
TV
is,
series
like,
crewman.
I could get it if it was like Percy starts back by himself and the crew fall out, but it's like Gordon's already stopped when Percy starts moving.
Yeah, like, and honestly, I really prefer the crew trying to make Percy reverse first before jumping out, because, like, they're at least trying to get Percy out of the way, whereas in the TV series version, it's more like they're just fucking abandoning Percy to ensure their own safety. And then Percy just kind of magically starts on his own.
For the or like Percy moving in the TV series, it literally just seems like Gordon made him jump.
Yeah, like, honestly, I'm sure they could have intercut, like, a little, like, you know, thing of the driver pulling the lever in reverse, and the narrator could say, like, the driver tried to reverse Percy, but he couldn't move. You know, in anywhere in the, like, the yawning chasm of silence where they cut between Gordon approaching the camera and Percy being scared.
I wonder, because this is the thing I saw on the wiki when, like, looking at this episode. Apparently there's a couple scenes where you could see the figures being held together by, like, really blatant blue tack. I wonder if at this point they were just falling apart and they were like, yeah, we don't have the ability to do this yet.
I mean,
they would have.
All they'd have to do is just.
I feel like they'd have to use the close-up models to show the reverser being pulled and stuff.
Like 2 pictures with the large-scale models, and those were pretty sturdy even in season 1.
Yeah, true.
Like,
yeah, I don't know, man. It's a weird choice.
I guess the best way you could have done an adaptation of this to kind of keep the general thing and also give Percy a little bit more of his own agency is, like, Percy, like, essentially jolts backwards when he sees Gordon, the crew fall out, and Percy just fucking books it. He's just gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it's not even like the crew leave, it's more so like, Percy moves suddenly and they, like, get startled and fall out.
Yeah. So, like, basically what he does and, takes the plunge, but unintentionally.
Yeah, what he doesn't takes the plunge, but, like, he's not intending to knock them out, he just gets scared.
Non-maliciously.
Percy, non-malicious, except when he is malicious.
He protect, but he
Yeah.
also attack.
Percy be like, I can be your angle or your devil.
No, it's devil. For the meme, it's I can be your angle or your devil. But Percy had begun to move. I won't stay here! I'll run away! He puffed. He was soon clear of the station, running as fast as he could. He went through Edward Station whistling loudly, and was so frightened that he ran right up Gordon's Hill without stopping. He was tired then, and wanted to stop, but he couldn't. He had no driver to shut off steam and to apply the brakes. I shall have to run till my wheels wear out, he thought sadly. Oh dear, oh dear. Fun fact, I've actually had a Percy run till his wheels wear out, because once I mentioned this on Twitter, but once I ran a Bachman Percy at full speed for like 20 minutes, and then it died, and I had to get a new one. Fucking 0 out of 10,
L.
shitty model. What the fuck are you doing, Bachman?
L.
Yeah.
Baby is scared, oh no! I don't have anything meaningful to say about this page, other than I do think it is kind of funny that, like, you know, he steams all the way up Gordon's Hill on his own, and, like, the way it's framed in the TV series version, and kind of in this too, like, you imagine the scene, like, you know, Percy's, like, bucketing along at full speed, running away from Gordon.
He's
Probably
Yeah.
not actually going
at
that
most
fast.
30 miles an hour.
Like,
And to be fair, it makes for a cool scene.
yeah, which, I mean, is pretty fast if you're, you know, unsupervised.
it's just
You
like,
know.
I always really like the sequence of Percy going up Gordon's Hill, because it's like, it's fun in that, like, you don't see Percy on those kind of sets very often, and also, like, he's going backwards, and that's kind of funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, it
Yeah.
made probably... Would you say the Runaway theme is the most used, like, Thomas theme?
No, I'd say
Like it-
Thomas's theme is.
I mean, in fan stuff.
I mean, in fan stuff, I feel like it's kind of a tie between, like, you know,
And the Tugs theme at this
Thomas
point.
theme, Runaway theme, Tug's theme, Henry sad theme whenever a sad thing happens, even if it is just not a good fit.
And every damn person who lives
Like,
there.
you know,
Do, 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 do.
yeah, like that.
God.
Uh,
I like this illustration.
Percy's
Percy gets the
zooming along.
zoomies.
Rolling around at the speed of
Yeah,
fast.
it's fine.
I want to stop. I want to stop. He puffed in a tired sort of way. He passed another signal box. I know just what you want, little Percy, called the man kindly. He set the points, and Percy puffed wearily onto a nice empty siding, ending in a big bank of earth. Percy was too tired now to care where he went. I want to stop. I want to stop. I have stopped. He puffed thankfully as his bunker buried itself in the bank.
I always like the shot of Percy actually knocking into the bank, because it's like,
Yeah, it's
it's
cool.
very...
Yeah. It was fun.
Yeah.
I also really like how nice the signalman is. Like,
Yeah.
like that's so kind of him. Like, you know, it could have been worded in a way like the signalman saw the potential danger and
That's
decided
how
to divert the train
Christopher
from a
Audrey
runaway
would have
sighting.
phrased it.
But instead he's like, oh,
Yeah.
yeah, that's how Christopher Audrey would have written it. But, you know, this signalman is like, oh, no, Percy, I know just what you need right now. Here, let me switch you onto the slime. Like, that's so
He just
nice
wants
of him,
Percy
you know?
to be able to chill.
Yeah. You know, it you know, partially because, you know, Percy's not having a fun time right now. Also because it's very dangerous for him to be running away like that.
Child.
I think it's like,
Yeah.
I always really
Throw
like
into
the shot
bank
of
of
Percy
earth.
running into the bank of earth, and I think it's because, like, it shifts a little bit, and you so rarely see stuff that aren't the engines moving in the show.
Yeah, it's like I don't
Yeah.
think tactile feedback is the
It's because it's like a real pile of dirt.
right word.
See, the question is, why do they just
You know, if it was made in the hit model era, it would have, like, been a cheap slow-mo
question
explosion.
is, why do they just have a random siding on the main line that goes directly into a pile of dirt?
It was originally a pair of buffers, and then it got kind of overgrown,
it's a runaway
and then they
siding.
just started fucking dumping shit there.
It's Benry's grave.
They
hasn't
have the tracks,
risen
they
from
have the
it
tracks
yet.
there so that Gordon can pay respects.
Gordon, what are you doing
Yeah.
here? I'm pressing F to pay respects, little Percy.
Thomas, why are we here? We're saying goodbye to our good friend James.
I'm still alive!
I'm right here. I'm
No,
still
you should definitely be dead.
alive.
Never mind, Percy, said the workman as they dug him out. You shall have a drink and some coal, and then you'll feel better. Presently, Gordon arrived. Well done, Percy. You started so quickly that you stopped a nasty accident. I'm sorry I was cheeky, said Percy. You were clever to stop. Percy now works in the yard and finds coaches for the trains. He's still cheeky because he is that sort of engine, but he is always most careful when he goes on the main line. And
I do like how Gordon and Percy make up, because I guess
Yeah.
Gordon's cool with Percy now, but, like, I really don't understand what on earth Gordon was saying. Like, you stopped quickly enough to prevent a nasty accident, but, like, the accident would... Percy's the entire reason the accident would have happened
like...
regardless.
yeah, and
Like-
he didn't.
Like, Percy didn't, like, prevent anything. He just
If-
almost caused something.
Percy jerked moving while Gordon
Yeah,
was
I
trying
think-
to
I
stop.
think
I would get this line.
This is the thing. I think that's what Audrey's intention was. Like, if I go back to that page quickly,
It's like Percy started moving quickly enough that, like, Gordon didn't run into him, I guess.
it says back Percy back, but Percy's wheels wouldn't turn quickly, which implies that they were turning. They just weren't turning quick enough to get him out of the way.
But it also
yeah.
mentions Percy opened his eyes. Gordon had stopped with Percy's buffers
Yeah, I
a
guess
few
that's
inches
like
from his own.
when
And then it says after, but Percy had begun to move. But like that kind of implies it's after. Like there's a second where Gordon stopped and Percy stopped, and then Percy jerks off.
I think it is an issue of clunky writing, but I think the
phrasing.
intention is Percy's driver gets him going, but he's not going quick enough. Gordon starts braking, and when Gordon stops, he's pretty much right in front of Percy, but Percy's already going at that point. And, like, he's starting to pick up speed by that point, and that's why he
that
doesn't
makes
stop.
sense.
It's, like, it's framed as if he's scared, but, like, I guess in the world where, there aren't faces on the trains, it would just be, like, he built up momentum, now he's just booking it.
Yeah.
It just doesn't.
It's not
just
well
not
conveyed,
really
because, like, it's weird, because he's still figuring... Like, Audrey's still figuring out how he wants to personify stuff like that for the engines, and also, like, as good as some of his stories have been, he's not that experienced of a writer yet.
Yeah, I feel like it could have been fixed with a simple but Percy had already started moving, instead of but Percy had begun to move.
Yeah, like, just that little bit of phrasing would have helped.
Yeah,
I feel like it's also kind of weird for Gordon to just be suddenly cool with Percy now, but, like, I feel like it is kind of a fitting ending for Gordon's arc, I guess, in this book. Because, like, he was the whole mastermind of the, like, tender engines don't shunt thing, and, like, the whole strike. So now that he's finally accepting the solution to his problem, I guess that's kind of a good thematic ending for the book?
Troublesome Engines is a bit of a rough book.
Yeah,
I feel like if they, like, showed more explicit, like, Gordon being unhappy with Percy, even though he's the solution to a problem he wanted before now, I don't know. I feel like it could have been done a bit better, but, it's whatever.
I'll just
It's a fine
take it
story.
as the CGI series kind of thing where Gordon takes the Express really seriously, and he shows respect to
Yeah.
Stephen and Philip when they help it.
Yeah. I mean, I can easily see why he would, considering it's like a huge passenger train full of people that could die.
Yeah.
This is the thing, I don't think Gordon at this point has the concept of mortality.
Yeah, we need to wait about, God, how many books office Enterprising Engines?
Oh,
I
God.
think that's book 90?
It's 23. 23 minus...
Percy has the concept by Stepney.
It's like 18 books away, I think.
Percy's kind of starting to understand the concept of mortality by Stepney the Bluebell Engine. But it's also kind of shown that Stepney's like Percy's kind of more of an like empathetic than Gordon is, so
Yeah. Gordon has a lot more hubris. Percy's just silly.
He only cares about the virus when one of his family members gets sick.
First, they came for the tank engines. I did not.
Oh, God!
Not the tank engine.
Stop!
Oh boy, I didn't know Ken Penders wrote the Thomas comics.
Yeah, for anyone who doesn't know...
Do we want to move on to ratings? I don't want to talk about Ken Penders on the Thomas podcast.
Can I just explain what that reference was, though?
Yes, of course.
Okay, so there was a writer on the Sonic the Hedgehog Archie comic book named Ken Penders, and one day he for the intro page to one of his comics for the Knuckles the Echidna spin-off comic, he took a well-known poem about the Holocaust and changed it to be about anthropomorphic animals.
I think it's like at first they came for the rabbits and I did not speak up.
Yeah. So basically, he was the...
He's the reason Archie doesn't have the Sonic license anymore, because he was a freak and...
He's insane.
Won what should have been a very easy lawsuit for Archie and Sega. Anyway, let's segue into rankings on that note.
Alright, so... rankings, I guess?
Yeah, rankings. I'm gonna go first. I think I give the story a Toby. It's a fun story, there's not a whole lot to say about it, other than, like, there's a couple little confusing bits, and the line from the Fact Controller in the very beginning is dumb. But, like, it's a fun story, It's just not a lot to say about it. I'd consider it, like, I feel like it's an iconic moment when Percy runs away, personally. It doesn't really get a lot of, like, revisits in other, like, episodes, but I feel like that is, like, it's his first, like, leading story, and, like, him running away backwards down the main line is an iconic moment to me, so I think I'll give it a Toby.
Yeah, I ironically give it a Percy, just because it's like, it's good. Like, there's more I like than I don't, but I don't feel particularly strong about it. It's Percy's first role, which is nice. I like the scenes, like, at the yard, like, with, like, Thomas and Edward, and I like Percy and Gordon's bit at the end, but, yeah, it's just... it's good.
I guess, like, I don't really know what I'd say between, like, it's somewhere between a Percy and a Toby for me, so I'll just say, like, Toby to be nice. It's, like, it's not in-depth and it's not very complicated, but it doesn't really need to be. It's, like, obviously, like, the point of this podcast is to dissect and discuss the books, but it's, like, they weren't meant to be that deep this early on, especially. This is just meant to be a fun story for kids, and I think it definitely succeeded at being that. It's like, it gives us some more insight on Percy, even if it's not much. We'll be getting a lot more of Percy later on, though, so that's okay. It gives us some more show of Gordon, and pretty much sets up his dynamic with Percy of, like, Percy's a little bit of a little shit, but Gordon kind of, like, enjoys his company anyway. It's not amazing, but it's also not bad. I think it deserves a Toby. It's good.
Hey. Honestly, I think part of what gets this, like, story for me is it's, like, I kind of like to dissect, like, the character like interactions and dynamics and stuff, and it's like there's some of that here, but there isn't much, so it just kind of ends up being okay for me.
Yeah. If we want to segue right into the book rankings,
Oh god.
you know, do we want to do that?
Yeah. I think now's
Yeah.
the best time to.
Yeah, we're at the end. We can't stall it off any longer. Personally, I think this book is a bit weird, just because, like, the ambiguity of what message it's trying to send. Because, like, on the one hand, like, it is, especially with some of the lines the Fat Controller says, it's very easy to take this as, like, an anti-union thing. And, you know... But, like, honestly, given the ambiguity in the book, I feel like it could be argued it's not. We talked about it a bunch in the last, like, you know, chapter. We talked about it in the last episode a bunch too. Like, I don't know. I feel like, you know, I feel like, you know, it could have, like, definitely benefited from, like, you know, better wording and presentation of ideas.
Yeah.
But I feel like on the whole, I don't think it is supposed to be a condemnation of unions. I think it is just supposed to be Audrey's interpretation of what it would be like if the Engines tried doing something like that.
Yeah.
With their limited understanding of what these things are supposed to be.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't know. But, I mean, despite the whole ambiguity with that, I still feel like this book, I feel a lot better about it than I did going into it. Because reading these stories, like, you know, we kind of, like, saw a bunch of, like, the reasons why it, we saw a bunch of, like, mostly just, piecing together why it might not be as bad as we thought it would be. But also just, the stories are a big improvement compared to, like, James the Red Engine. And I think the main reason why that is because, unlike James the Red Engine, there's an actual unifying, driving idea behind all the stories, which is that the Engines are upset about things, as opposed to just, here is James, and we're gonna try and do Thomas's arc
This
again.
is the thing.
Like, because this book has inspiration behind it, and because it's trying to, like, tell a story and do something. God, I'm gonna try and remember that. Because it actually has an idea as the driving force surrounding it, it was a much better book. But I'm still not entirely, like, hot on it. Like, it's got some good stories in it, but overall, I feel like it's, I feel like I just give it a Percy. It's better than James the Red Engine, but it's not like, I think I just give it a Percy. It's definitely better than James the Red Engine, but because of, like, all the weirdness with it, I don't feel like I could justify giving it any higher than a Percy, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I completely get that, and I'm kind of the same. Like, I was gonna say Percy too, because it's honestly, it's like, this is probably my, like, discounting all the yikes, probably my favorite overall package of a book since Thomas's, because, like, I wasn't the most hot on, like, the first two stories in Tank Engine. Again, that's personal preference, but with, like, all of the ambiguity and potential kind of stuff, which is, like, I don't think was the case, but, like, also isn't explicitly not the case, I almost kind of want to give it a Gordon because of its, like, incredible, like, ambiguity that, like, isn't in a good way. But, like, I don't think that's fair, and I enjoy it more than I don't, so I'm gonna say Percy too. So there's a lot of good here, and I don't think it was meant to be any, like, serious condemnation or anything, but, like, there's points where it comes off that way, and I mean, there's a reason, like, the Edward's a scab joke is a thing, even though, like, it's literally not what happens in this story, like, in this arc, and, like, even we didn't really realize that going in. So it's like, I don't know, I feel like I said, I feel like this is one that really could have benefited from, like, an Adventure Begins type update, or, like, an adaptation that adapted it and didn't just remake it.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Percy for me, it's good, but it has issues.
I don't really know what I want to rank the book. Honestly, it's like I have a lot of thoughts on it because after like reading it for the show, I definitely don't think Audrey was going for a like unions and worker strikes are fucking stupid kind of angle. I don't think that's what he was going for. And like, I'm not gonna like judge the book based on like that still being an easily readable assumption because I don't think that's fair. But at the same time, there's not that much to it. It's like, I do think it's interesting that this is kind of the first really, like, okay or, like, to good book that doesn't use Thomas as a crutch. Because it's like...
Yeah.
Free Railway Engines
He's small in this.
Free Railway Engines is a good start. Thomas the Tank Engine is probably still the best book we've had so far. James the Red Engine just tries to do Thomas again, but fails. And Tank Engine Thomas again literally uses Thomas. Whereas in this, it's like Thomas appears like once and he's mentioned another time. It's like he's Audrey's specifically not using Thomas as the main character or as a crutch for his writing, which I think is really like a good start for him improving as a writer. And as much as we're going to have discussions about the next book, I think Henry the Green Engine is a significant improvement on this.
Oh, it definitely is. Like, I feel like, you know... I feel like after this book, the general quality of the Railway series, like, definitely becomes a lot more consistent.
Yeah. So it's like, I don't really know what I'd rank it. I guess I'd rank it like a low Toby. It's pretty good, and I don't dislike any of the stories, but it's also not a book I ever really feel like I'll reread on my own.
That's fair.
Yeah. So, we're at the end. We're at the end of the
There are
book.
no more Troublesome Engines.
No more troublesome engines, only troublesome trucks.
I do have to say, despite the, like, in a weird way, despite this being, like, probably our shortest book in terms of, like, episode lengths and stuff, like, I feel like this has been, like, probably the most interesting one, like, in terms of talking points.
Yeah.
Because it's, like...
Yeah, because we've had to, like, dissect whether or not this book has a good or bad message.
Yeah. Which is, like, it's interesting, especially, like, with, like, looking... I guess that's part of, like, looking at, like, older media in general, is there's just a... Like, you can't really know, and it's interesting.
The only way you can get a read on the author's intention is if he specifically tells you what the intention was.
Which he didn't.
I think the fact that there is so much ambiguity around this book just in general kind of shows why, like, that he never really said anything concrete about it, which is, like, a shame, because, like, it'd be nice to know, and honestly, I don't think he does a very good job in the book of making intentions clear, because it's like there's stuff where it's like you can really
there
like
are
kind of
ways
see
that you can read it as both, really.
Yeah, and it's not even just like there's like you kind of have to nitpick. There's some really like major things for both, like how like short the overall affair is, but then like, I feel like this is one of the biggest examples so far of, the, for lack of a better term, the, like, authoritarian, like, the more dictatory Fat Controller.
Yeah, this is definitely, like, the most I feel like he gets.
Yeah.
But in contrast, I feel like in the next book, the Fat Controller does a lot to, like, prove that he is an actual caring person.
The Fat Controller in Henry
through
the
his
Green
treatment of
Engine
Henry.
is kind of one of the best, like, appearances of the character, because he's trying so hard for Henry.
Yeah. And it's a nice change from here.
Yeah, but we'll have more to say about that next time on the Railway Series Book Club, where we begin our coverage on Henry the Green Engine.
It's plain as...
Hopefully, in that book, we won't have to do any discussion about heavy topics at all.
It's plain as plain can be, for everyone to see, that it's the Fat Controller's railway.
More like the Fat Controller's failway, LMAO.
Okay, I just want to say that, like, I know that there's actually a context to that song, and it was an actual song and anything, but all I can ever think of is the Milk Tanker Media, like, scene where, like, Mr. Percival is, like, singing it to taunt, you know, like,
the guy.
One of the Hat Kids, like, while he's in, like, the prison
that was
cell.
So good.
Yeah, it's legitimately kind of chilling. It's good.
Yeah. Milk Tanker Media series is good. You should watch Milk Tanker Media
Season
series.
4's nearly done, guys. I've already started filming.
Thanks for watching, everybody.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks so
Bye-bye.
much for
See you
coming.
next time.
Bye.
Join the Discord.
Join the Discord.
Na, 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 na.